Welcome to Lenny's Place, brought to you by Hillendale Stallions. We've had a blast bringing you these videos for about 6.5 years now. We've tried to get the most information and best opinions out there to you, mixed in with as much fun as we're allowed to have. This show today will be the last one that we bring your way on a regular basis, so I want to take a moment to thank John Sikora and his great team at Hillendale for their support this year. I also want to thank John Phillips and his staff at Darby Dan Farm for their sponsorship of And They're Off through many years. I think it's only fitting to go out as we came in, so I'm proud to welcome my friend, colleague, longtime co-host, Steve Haskin, to the proceedings. Steve, thanks for dropping by.
Lenny, it was my pleasure. How could I refuse this? Yeah, this is like the Martin and Lewis reunion.
Yeah,
all we need is Frank Sinatra over there to get us together, and I'd give you a hug in a heartbeat.
I didn't know you hated me in the meantime, but it's good to know. I am very happy to be able to tell our viewers that Steve is being inducted into the Racing Hall of Fame in the Joe Hirsch Media Roll of Honor, and that is the highest honor a journalist in the sport can receive. So, Steve, first, hearty congratulations. And what was your reaction when you learned about this?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. I was and still am overwhelmed. You know, when they first came out with this, of course, it's always in the back of your mind, but you try not to think about it, and you hope, someday that maybe your accomplishments will be recognized. But until you actually get the phone call, when Ed Bowen called and started out by saying, "I'm pleased to tell you, I had an idea right there what it was going to be," but I really was stunned, considering where I came from and starting out as on Wall Street and then making a transition to copy boy at the old Morning Telegraph and having absolutely no skills and never did any writing. So it was, it's just an unbelievable honor. Obviously the greatest honor of my career, just to be included with names like Charlie Hatton and Red Smith and Joe Palmer and guys like that. I mean, it boggles my mind. And to be inducted also with Raleigh Burroughs, because I was weaned on the old Turf and Sport Digest that he was the editor of. That's where I got all my early knowledge, and my thirst for knowledge was so insatiable. And I used to go to the old Midtown used magazine shop on 8th Avenue up 42nd Street. And there'd be piles of Turf and Sport Digest that used to come in, and that's how I got all my information.
Well, just to tell people how exclusive this is, how many people have been honored in this fashion?
Well, Riley Burroughs and I were the 14th and 15th.
Wow, so that is
members.
Very exclusive then. That is a fantastic honor and so well deserved in your case. And you are worthy. Steve, for those who don't know, semi-retired this past summer, and I was just curious, Steve, the fact of being able to cover a Triple Crown finally, a Triple Crown winner, did that make your decision easier, that maybe the time was right to step back a little bit?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I kept thinking about that. That's why I kept thinking and believing that it was going to be, because, I knew well ahead of time that I was going to retire / semi-retire, whatever it was going to be, write freelance. But I knew I was going to be resigning from the Blood Horse. And I said, boy, what a way to go out. If I could write, and the one thing I've always taken great pride of is my, Triple Crown and Breeders' Cup Classic race recaps, where, you write 3,500 words and you just try and picture, paint the ultimate picture and story of that race. And I said, boy, if I could go out by just writing the ultimate story, the crowning achievement of all the race recaps, it would just be so appropriate. And when he won the race, well, needless to say, we both saw how excited each other was when we both almost broke each other's ribs, hugging each other. So I mean, that was that was pretty special. And yeah, I mean, it was just amazing. I mean, it was a perfect way to conclude my regular career as a full-time journalist.
I don't know who's going to spot for me anymore at the Derby. I'm a little bit problematic
Hey, it's
there.
tough. It's tough now. It's tough. You know, I got to go back and, start writing about other horses now. And, Derby Dozen starts pretty soon.
Well, yeah, let me just say, Steve, that even though Steve's semi-retired, you can still read his work. He does a couple of blogs each week at bloodhorse.com, if you don't know that. And in late January, Steve will be doing his Derby Dozen columns in the Blood Horse magazine. So any sneak preview of that first list, Steve?
Well, it'll be, first of all, it'll be starting online in early January. I'm going to be doing the first one in early January. The magazine can pick it up, whenever they feel like it. Normally it's been in late January. But, I mean, listen, we've had some good horses, nothing that's blown you away. Of course, you got an undefeated horse in Nyquist. And I still am a big believer in the two big winners at the end of November. Greenpoint Crusader, who won the Champagne, and Brody's Cause, who won the Kentucky Jockey Club. I still think they're both classic horses, and Bob Baffert's going to have three horses in the Los Al Futurity coming up. So that'll be the final the final page of 2015. And we'll have a much better picture of everything. But it's going to be tough. It's very wide open right now.
I know the readers are relieved that you will still be doing the Derby Dozen, as am I. Now, Steve and I have enjoyed a lot of highlights in the years that we did the And They're Off video together, starting with the very first show where Steve, of course, was horrified as usual to be told he'd be in front of a camera. And he ended up showing up in a sport coat and tie. You really classed up the proceedings there, Steve.
Hey, I always was. That's why before you do that, I want to pay tribute to the New Jersey production unit. I couldn't have done it without my wife/unit. Who else could have continuously lined up my face in the camera each week without laughing?
Well, that very first show also featured a breakout star in Stable Boy, our great editor and sidekick, Alice Cuttadine, who became a cult hero himself with fans such as trainer Chad Brown and Ahmed Zayat, and his annual appearance as Abe Lincoln. I don't think I've enjoyed anything quite so much as seeing Alex dressed up as Honest Stable Boy. He became an incredible character there.
Well, the thing is, we started off as Richie and Potsy, and then he became the Fonz.
He was unbelievable. Of course, a lot of ups and downs during those years. We mourned the loss of our friend, trainer Bobby Frankel, who was one of the great characters in racing, one of the great trainers in racing. But he also provided the best tout to our viewers when he gave out an unknown horse at the time named Ventura to win the Just the Game stakes, which he did. I remembering she paid about $20. And Steve, that grin on Bobby's face when we were walking through the paddock with him after the race, and a fan called out and thanked him for giving out the horse.
Forget about the grin on Bobby's face. How about the look on our faces right after he said what he did when we were interviewing him? And then we wound up looking at each other with this look of revelation, like God had just spoken and given us the 11th commandment. Thou shalt bet every penny you own on this horse.
And of course, Ventura became a famous horse. She wasn't at that point. She ended up winning a Breeders' Cup race, probably the Filly and Mare Sprint at Santa Anita, as I recall. But she was an unknown at that point, and we had asked Bobby to give us any winner, that he had that week, and man, did he come through.
Well, the way he said it, too, Bobby, he says, "I'm going to win." I mean, when Bobby says, "I'm going to win,"
You take it to the window.
Yeah.
We also
It's
had
like,
other.
it's like when we were at the Preakness, when we were in the tent, and we were watching the race in New York. I guess it was the Phipps or so, or the Schulte, and he's got like a 15-1 shot, and then I think her name is Wild Spirit, right? He's got a 15-1 shot in there. We're just watching it, and Bobby's standing by the TV and says, "That's the best filly in America." So much, just looked at each other. And then, "What are you telling us now? We're going to the gate." So they get to the window. He said, "You kidding me? The best filly in America." And she's like 15-20 to 1 in the Schulte.
Yeah, and she jogged also. Yeah, she won by a pole. Two other Hall of Fame trainers we came across. It was long thought that Bob Baffert and Wayne Lukas kind of had this cold competitive thing going with one another, but turns out we brought them together for a memorable interview at the Derby a couple of years ago, and they really showed their mutual respect and affection and admiration for each other. Although Bob does call Wayne Grandpa, I thought that was a great time, a great interview to get those two guys talking.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And the funny thing is that when Bob started out, there was a lot of animosity because they both were competing for the same Robert Lewis horses, and there was a lot of conflict between them, and they really, really got to like and admire each other. They have always admired each other because they're both Hall of Famers in the quarter horse industry and were competitors there. So, but they really got to like each other. And as Wayne got older, he did become like his grandfather. You look at Wayne now, and he's still plugging away. And Bob, after all these years, finally winds up winning his elusive Triple Crown after 3 near misses.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if those two guys ended up with the same amount of Derby wins when it's all said and done. Brought our viewers along on tours of Churchill Downs. Remember, we went up into the plantation suites upstairs, a little guerrilla video up there before we got kicked out.
Listen, if you want to talk about that, the most everlasting shot forever that's engraved in my brain is the shot that we have of the toilet in the new suite to Churchill Downs.
Absolutely, one of our best moments. We also gave our viewers a tour of Belmont Park and all its expansiveness, and then when we went through Hollywood Park in its last days, that was a pretty poignant.
That was very special. Going to Zenyatta's old stall. This is right before they tore it down, and just rehashing all the old memories that we had there, and a lot of it concerned Bobby Franklin. Going to Bobby's old barn and standing right where his office was, and just walking around there and all by ourselves. With the ghosts of so many great horses and trainers in the past. I mean, it was pretty special.
Yeah, that was it certainly was. Probably the nicest venue we ever shot at on location, Steve, I'm going to say, was Saratoga, where we'd always do our show the morning after the Travers under those beautiful trees at the Oklahoma track with horses coming on and off the track. That is such a special place in summertime.
Yeah, that I always enjoyed doing that. We'd always do it right after the Travers, so we always had somebody to talk to. And I remember one year when we had Kenny McPeak on, when he dead heated for Win. And one thing about Kenny McPeak, he was always good for an interview. You just had to ask him a couple of questions, and he'd go on from there.
Well, anybody who'd won the Travers is going to be chatty the next morning. That's for sure. But I'm going to say probably the biggest kick has been all the times at the Breeders' Cups and the Triple Crown races when viewers and fans and critics would come over and talk to us about the shows, and it's just great to be able to talk to people out there who enjoyed what we were doing, and really meant a lot. I'm sure I speak for you. It really meant a lot to us to know that people enjoyed these things.
Yeah, I mean, not to sound egotistical, but I'm going to miss sitting on the bench at Santa Anita on Breeders' Cup Day and having people stop by and tell us how much they love the show and how great we are. It made me actually start believing it.
Yeah, I don't. Well, the Hall of Fame says you are great, Steve, and I'm going to back them up on that. And Thank you.
Well, listen, all I need now is my free burial in the Raccoon National Cemetery in Bismarck, North Dakota.
You are my raccoon of the year. I don't care what anybody says. It's been great. Thank you for all the years. And Steve, thanks for being here today. We want to thank all the viewers and all the editors we've had and the videographers through the years who've put these shows together. And again, I want to thank John Sikora and Hillendale for their support this year. So we have.
Well, Lenny, I want to before you leave, I want to leave you with a letter that was addressed to you, but sent to me by mistake. So I have it right in front of me. Dear Lenny, well, it looks like we've both been put out to pasture. Signed, AP Indy.
Very good. All right, we hope to see you all further on down the road. Until then, have a great holiday season, and bye-bye, everybody. All right, that's just a little taste of what's to come with Lenny's Place, but for 5 years it's been a great run, and all kidding aside, it's been an honor, and it's just been a lot of fun working on this with you through the years.
It really has. I mean, we've got a lot of great memories, and, you know, a lot of it I'm going to miss. I really am. Yeah. And I'm going to miss my New Jersey production unit is standing right over there. She can go back to cooking me dinners now.
All the way to New Jersey to see the last show, but it has been great. And
yes, and we want to thank all the viewers and everybody who's come up to us and everybody who's supported us over the years. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, from the bottom of our hearts, and it happened again yesterday. We so appreciate the viewers who have said kind words. And so that's it for the Travers from foggy Saratoga, for Steve Haskin, who, of course, will still be appearing on bloodhorse.com and the Blood Horse magazine. He's not going anywhere. You can still read his fine writing there. So bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you in September.
Bye-bye, and watch Lenny's Place.
Thank you.
Thank you.